the notion that global warming is a war by the mainstream media against Christianity is a perspective that has gained significant traction in recent years. Proponents of this idea argue that the media's emphasis on climate change is merely a thinly veiled attempt to undermine Christian values and promote a secular, liberal agenda. While this claim may seem far-fetched to some, it is essential to examine the underlying reasoning and motivations behind this assertion. At its core, the argument suggests that the mainstream media's focus on global warming is an effort to erode traditional Christian beliefs and replace them with a more environmentally centered worldview. This, in turn, is seen as a threat to the Christian faith, which is perceived as being at odds with the values of sustainability and environmental stewardship. Some argue that the media's promotion of climate change as a pressing global issue is a way to promote a form of eco-theology that supplants traditional Christian teachings with a more secular, nature-based spirituality. One of the primary ways in which the media is accused of waging a war against Christianity is through its supposed manipulation of scientific data and research. Some argue that the media selectively presents information that supports the idea of human-caused climate change while ignoring or downplaying contradictory evidence. This, in turn, is seen as an attempt to create a sense of urgency and panic around the issue, which can be leveraged to promote policies and practices that are antithetical to Christian values. For example, some Christians argue that the push for renewable energy and reduced carbon emissions is a thinly veiled attempt to promote a more socialist or communist economic agenda, which is seen as being at odds with the principles of free market capitalism and individual liberty. Another way in which the media is accused of targeting Christianity is through its portrayal of climate change as a moral issue. By framing climate change as a matter of moral urgency, the media is seen as attempting to supplant traditional Christian teachings on morality and ethics with a more secular, environmentally centered framework. This, in turn, is perceived as a threat to the authority and relevance of Christian teachings, which are seen as being rooted in a more absolute and timeless moral framework. For example, some Christians argue that the idea of climate justice is a euphemism for a more radical, socialist agenda that seeks to redistribute wealth and resources along lines of environmental privilege rather than traditional notions of justice and morality. Furthermore, some argue that the media's emphasis on climate change is also a way to promote a more secular, liberal worldview that is antithetical to Christian values. By emphasizing the role of human activity in causing climate change, the media is seen as promoting a more anthropocentric view of the world, which is at odds with the traditional Christian view of humanity's place in the natural world. This, in turn, is perceived as a threat to the Christian notion of human exceptionalism, which holds that humans are created in the image of God and are endowed with a unique moral and spiritual status. In conclusion, while the idea that global warming is a war by the mainstream media against Christianity may seem far-fetched to some, it is essential to understand the underlying reasoning and motivations behind this assertion. By examining the ways in which the media is accused of manipulating scientific data, promoting a secular, liberal agenda, and undermining traditional Christian teachings, we can gain a deeper understanding of the complex and often contentious debate surrounding climate change and its relationship to Christianity. Ultimately, this debate highlights the need for a more nuanced and respectful dialogue between different worldview perspectives and a greater awareness of the ways in which our beliefs and values shape our perceptions of the world around us.